Back in the day when the radio played and CDs spun our nights away. From grunge to grooves and R&B, 95 was the place to be. We're digging deep, 1 week at a time. Every album, every rhyme. It's more than music, it's a vibe. Come with us, let's take that ride. 52/1995. We're bringing that year back alive. From basement tapes to billboard highs, rewind the sound, relive the drive. Oh, 52/1995. Drop the needle, feel that jive. 1 year, 1 track at a time. Dive, yeah, let's dive. Spinning loud, feel the flash. Britpop dreams and alt rock crash. Hip hop truth, electronic night. Every beat still burns so bright. 52/1995. It's not just songs, it's a time capsule dive. Talking twos and shake on lights. Tune and turn up and ride that high, yeah. 52/1995. Weekly drops, we keep it live. Let's rewind the vibe. One album every time.
Howdy, howdy, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome into 52/1995, your live music conversation podcast for diving deep into the music of 1995. This is our first expansion into the 52 universe from our sister podcast, 52/1995 Movies. I am your host, Alyssa, and I am joined as always by my co-host, Cody. Cody, how you feeling today?
Check your neck.
Why? No. You're doing great. Well, that gives you a little preview as to what we'll be talking about today. But for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, very happy to have you here. Excited to have you here. Welcome in. If you don't know, each week, 52 weeks in a year, right? We are going to explore a different album from the year 1995 for their 30th anniversary. We're going to talk about this year's important releases, maybe some releases that snuck under the radar, talk about them in detail, and I'm going to chat with my guest here about their thoughts and experiences with the music. Now, each month we're exploring a different genre or theme. This month's theme is hip hop music. So we're doing the big releases for 1995 hip hop. Last week we covered Tupac. This week, the album we're talking about is Liquid Swords by GZA, also known as Genius. So depending on how you know him, goes by our name. We're going to probably call him GZA throughout the entire pod today. So before we get into it and get into the details of the album itself, I want to ask you, Cody, again, thank you for joining as always. But have you ever listened to GZA before, this album, his music, his other projects that I'm sure we're about to get into? What is your first impressions, if these are your first impressions?
So I know GZA best from probably from Wu-Tang Clan, as he's one of the, I don't even know, 10 members, 11 members? There's
9.
9. I was close. I was so close.
Yeah.
9 members of the Wu-Tang Clan. And honestly, I came late to the Wu-Tang Clan, probably in the last like 10 years. I was the only time that I really started listening to Wu-Tang and some of the other artists that are a part of that and associated with that. So that's really my experience with GZA. GZA is always with like it's always GZA and RZA, and then you always have like Method Man and Redman together doing their own things, and then the others kind of sprinkled in wherever they come in. But GZA and RZA were in a Jim Jarmusch film. This means nothing to you, I know. A Jim Jarmusch film called Coffee and Cigarettes, and it was filmed in all black and white. And RZA and GZA were specifically in a scene, and in that movie, it's just like these little scenes, different scenes that are happening. And he's specific. Those two are specifically in a scene with Bill Murray, and it's just them having a conversation. That's all that film is. It's just conversations between people. But it's Bill Murray acknowledging that he knows who GZA and RZA are. Pretty good. That's probably the best one in the movie, honestly. So that's kind of how I know GZA. I'm honestly a little bit more familiar with RZA because RZA does a lot more work with like movies, and like he's worked with Quentin Tarantino before on several things, and I think they probably are friends due to their love of kung fu movies and culture and all that. So so I am new. This is fresh to me. This album is fresh to me. I was really looking forward to it. There's a couple albums this year that I'm really looking forward to. This was one of them. I think we've got another one coming up in hip hop that I'm really looking forward to because I've never listened to him before. And then Old Dirty Bastard, ODB's album later this year. So as another member of the Wu-Tang Clan. So very fresh. And I'm glad that I did listen to it. It was kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be with the kind of East Coast hip hop genre. And yeah, I really enjoyed myself. So
Very good. Awesome. I'm new to this as well. I've never, look, shocking. I know last week I said I've never listened to Tupac. This week, I've never listened to Wu-Tang Clan, never, let alone GZA or any of the solo albums that come from the members of the Wu-Tang Clan. So pretty much every album this month is going to be brand new to me. But I also had a good time. I was looking forward to it as well. Like, I mean, this month I've been looking forward to because it is just so net new. And it's just a genre that I haven't explored too much. But there is, and I was telling this to you the other day when we were talking about the pop. I'm like, there's just something about 90s hip hop and 90s rap. There is just like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why I like it so much. And I said, I kind of like, in a modern day sense, Doechii, a lot of her inspiration and the way that she raps mimics or is inspired by 90s hip hop as well. I really like Doechii. So I don't know what it is about the style, like the bounciness to it or the flow. But there is just something about last week and this week that I'm like, this stuff's so good. And I'm not that I dislike rap by any means. I do like it. It's just not the genre today that I seek out. I think I sought it out a lot more in the 2010s, the late aughts, early 10s. Because that was, and especially in the aughts, it was way more popular on like the radio top 40 stuff. There was like a renaissance in that way. But yeah, I've never really dived into anything beyond like before 2004.
Yeah.
So everything here is new.
I think we touched on this a little bit last week, just talking about like, we always talk about genres and we always talk about like subgenres of things. So we have hip hop under this little, this umbrella, and then there's so much difference. Just from what we know and what you experienced, all the hip hop that you're talking about is more of like the Southern hip hop, and then moving like thinking of like Ludacris and Nelly and Chingy and
we're looking at Atlanta.
And even Outkast goes into that. So like those Southern hip hop guys, and then you got a taste of West Coast last week. And then you can already tell like how different East Coast is compared to Tupac. It is a different. I even think there's like two different genres within the East Coast. It's crazy. So just thinking about like I'm trying to think when we did, obviously with like British stuff, we had like the Britpop era and
Mhm.
everything. I was trying to, maybe rock is probably the best like 90s one to compare it to. Like right now,
Yeah.
you've got your grunge, you've got your singer songwriters, you've got the alternative, you've got all these different genres, specifically in the 90s. So um and then you got all these other guys that are kind of in the middle.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
Chicago and the and Michigan coming up with like
Mhm.
Eminem and their style and everything. I don't know. It's interesting. It's fascinating. And one thing you won't get from uh, any of the Wu-Tang Clan guys, too much of anyway, not that I'm aware of, is a lot of the East Coast West Coast battle stuff.
Yeah,
You
I was
won't
going to ask you about that. I feel like Wu-Tang, I don't want to say keeps to themselves because they're everywhere. Like they're a huge group of 9, and then they also have like I think it's called the Wu-Tang Killer Bees, and
Mhm.
it's like anyone that they have like it's like not their own label, but like they've basically collaborated with and mentored other rap groups. So and they even when each of these guys has a solo album, they will collab like they'll collaborate on the albums. Like I'm pretty sure who's the on the towards the end um Killa Priest, who I don't believe is in Wu-Tang, but he
Mm-mm.
is a longtime friend of Wu-Tang. That he is the final song on this album is a Killa Priest song. GZA is not on that last song, like other than him putting it on his own album. It was like
Yeah.
that how so it's not like they keep to themselves, but like I saw nothing in my research about the East Coast West Coast stuff, and I was curious if you had known that or if you've heard about that or like knew anything why. Like I don't know why.
I honestly don't. I just don't think that that was their fight to be in. That
Hmm.
was more of a Bad Boy Records versus
True.
Death Row Records.
And they weren't
Um,
part of Bad Boy Records.
right. It's in the same vein of, I want to say, Lil Wayne's label kind of beefing with God, I can't even think who they were beefing with. Because that's like Drake and that's Nicki and that's all those
Oh yeah.
people.
Oh, what were they called? They sang Bedrock. That's the one I remember. Shoot,
It might be
Young Money.
Young Money, and then uh, yeah, I don't know who. There's another one in there. Yeah, I can't. Is it Young? That's Lil Wayne's, right? Is Young Money?
Young Money is Lil Wayne, Drake, Nicki. Yes, that whole group. And
Yeah,
the only song I know is Bedrock from like 2009.
and
But it is
it might be
a
Cash
great song.
Money. I think Cash
Mm,
Money might be the label. That's like Birdman. And I know they had a big, thing going on. So, um, yeah, Young Thug's part of that too. Yeah, so the beefs still go on, but I just don't think that Wu Tang really had any beefs, and if they did, it was really with just in themselves. Like, you can go online and you can find like timelines of just like who's suing who in the Wu Tang Clan this week.
oh,
Yeah,
why? Like
I I
infighting?
think I think it's just like, you spend a lot of years together, and of course they were together from the 80s on.
Yeah.
Some of them growing up together, and other that they just,
Yeah, they're related. Some of
yeah,
them.
it's you fight more with your family than anybody else, kind of thing. So
That's fair.
um and I don't think that, but I think that they did like songs with, like, I think they did songs with Tupac, and I think they did songs with Biggie. So I think they were kind of everywhere,
Hmm.
because Wu Tang ain't nothing to fuck with. So they say it in their song.
That's true. You know what to do and what to not do.
And I could be completely wrong. I could be missing out on a lot of history of them. Like I said, I was kind of like looking up biographies about Wu Tang Clan because I was like, this is fascinating. And each one of them have written books too.
Yeah.
Some of them multiple books. GZA might
Yeah.
have 2 books out.
I'm
I
pretty
think.
sure.
Yeah. It's just fascinating that you can do such a deep dive just on Wu Tang Clan. I mean, there's even
Yeah.
a series about Wu Tang Clan on Hulu. So,
Hmm.
like a dramatized series. So,
Yeah, that's I was gonna say I talked about how I want like a documentary on East Coast versus West Coast. The documentary on Wu-Tang could just stand alone.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't need to be part of it. I see in the chat 52/books launch. Maybe
No,
we've
I'm
we've
gonna.
talked about it,
We
but
have talked about books. I also talked about. Well, we don't have to bog down here. I was talking. Yeah, that's for another day.
that's okay. I also haven't read a single thing this entire year, so we're killing it. Um, what was I gonna say?
I distracted us. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say the only thing I like knew about Wu-Tang was all of the nonsense that happened with that hedge fund guy who bought the final album and then got sued because
Oh,
he jacked up the price of a life-saving medicine.
and
I was
they
like, fuck
hate
that.
that dude.
Yeah, fuck that guy. He's the worst person and does not deserve that album.
Yeah, screw that guy. Martin Shkreli, I think, is his name.
Gross.
Yeah, he sucks. And I'm pretty sure Wu-Tang like took it away from him or did something like null. It became null. I don't know.
Yeah, I do not know, but that's all. That's my surface knowledge there.
Nice.
So you want to talk about this album?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, so this week's album is Liquid Swords by GZA, also known as The Genius. The album is 13 songs long, 55 minutes, so not too long. GZA was born in, I believe, 66 in New York City. I think he was born in Brooklyn, but basically grew up in the Staten Island area. In the late 80s, cousins Robert Diggs, Gary Grice, and Russell Jones formed a group called Force of the Imperial Master. Okay, so if you're curious, Robert Diggs is RZA, Gary Grice is GZA, and Russell Jones is Old Dirty Bastard. So now those were not their names yet when they formed the first group and Force of the Imperial Master, also known as All In Together Now crew. Again, don't know why there's multiple names for things, for people, for groups. I don't know. But each member recorded under an alias. So Diggs was the scientist, Grice was the genius, and Jones was the specialist. So that is where we get the name Genius from. Because I was genuinely when we were putting this list together, it came up as Genius / GZA, and I said last week GZA because I'm an idiot, but I was like, oh, this is an album with two people. I thought these were two different people. Nope, same guy, just two different names. So
And don't feel stupid or anything because like I see on looking at this, many people have been like, oh, I didn't know until today that it was not RZA and GZA.
yeah. And then RZA makes sense, and because again, it's Robert and Gary, which is hilarious. Like you think about these like tough, strong rappers who are super famous, and it's just Rob and Gary.
Bob and Gary doing their thing. Bob, Gary, and Russ just hanging out.
Just hanging out. And they're cousins. All three, like the three of them grew up together, they're cousins.
Mhm.
And like you said, like it's not that they're just related, they're really related.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the scientist, the genius, the specialist. Like that is a really fun alias to go under. And then of course when they inevitably form Wu-Tang Clan, specifically RZA. And you mentioned RZA a moment ago. Like everybody knows RZA. He's considered the leader of Wu-Tang Clan. It is his baby. It's his project. He's the one who brought everybody together. Of course, bringing along GZA and Old Dirty Bastard, or ODB.
ODB.
So that is again where it kind of started, where we got some of these names from. The album that we're talking about today again is Liquid Swords. This is the second solo studio album by GZA. So Wu-Tang Clan member GZA, this is his second studio album. The album, and we've kind of been alluding to it, but it heavily samples dialogue from the martial arts film Shogun Assassin. So if you've seen that movie, cool. If you haven't, that's okay too. Really, it's like 3 different Japanese movies stitched together. I tried. I was like, what is the plot of this movie? And the Wikipedia is 17 scrolls long, and I said, I'm not going to read that.
It's intense, and I have wanted to watch each one of these movies because they are like it is very Tarantino specific. Like he pulls a lot from this, but it comes from the series Lone Wolf and Cub, which
Hmm.
I think there's like 5 or 6 Lone Wolf and Cub
Yeah.
movies as it ends up. But they took the first 2 and made Shogun Assassin, and then dubbed over it with English speaking voices, and became kind of this big cult following.
Yeah.
Shogun Assassin. So I kind of wanted to watch Lone Wolf and Cub and then watch Shogun Assassin, but I don't know. I've messed around with doing it all. I should just watch it all.
Just watch it all. Just do it.
Just watch it all. Why not?
Yeah. Add it. Put it on the list. But it's interesting, and we'll get into it a little bit. Like we talk about sometimes with these albums that they're cinematic, and that is exactly what GZA was trying to do with this. But I think so. One thing is it maintains kind of a dark atmosphere, a lot of lyrical references to crime, but also philosophy, like a lot to philosophy and like thought. Also features numerous guest appearances from the other 8 Wu-Tang Clan members, along with Wu-Tang affiliate Killah Priest. So we've got a lot of people on this album, not
Mhm.
just GZA. So did the album chart? Yes, Liquid Swords peaked at number 9 on the Billboard 200 and the number 2 on the top R&B and hip hop albums chart. The RIAA certified the album as platinum in sales nearly 20 years after the release. So this seems to be one of those sleeper albums, it seems. It did get high critical acclaim and praise when it came out, but it seems to be one that over time is getting more and more popular and getting more and more recognition. It is considered to be one of the best albums from the Wu-Tang camp out of anyone's like solo projects. Like I said, it received critical acclaim for its complex lyricism and hypnotic musical style. And when I was reading like these reviews, I was like, I'm so glad someone said hypnotic because I will be honest, when we listened last week to Tupac, I had multiple songs where I'm like, I like this one, I like that one. I was diving in, I enjoyed it. A lot of them had similar themes, of course, and kind of some of them sounded the same, but I was like, I like this, I like this, I like this. It felt, if I was able to pick stuff out. This album, I had a very hard time differentiating between the songs. One, because on purpose, they do flow into one another.
Mhm.
There's this when one song ends, it carries into as another song begins. So, and I love when an album does that. Again, it gives that continuity, and it tells a story. And this certainly isn't a story type album. But that being said, I almost felt like, I don't want to say hypnotized, but I was like, it's very like trance like to go into a trance, um
Yeah.
just kind of like this. I like, not to, and this isn't to disparage this, but I'm like, this is perfect background music. Like I'm like, it is a great beat. It's got cool lyrics, but there's nothing that's like jumps out at you kind of crazy that like kind of kills the vibe. It's a vibe the whole way through.
Mhm.
And I
That's
like
one
that
of the
consistency.
yeah, that's one of the things that in the notes that I did take about this album, I just feel like it's super chill.
Yes,
Um,
I agree.
even though some of the lyrics and everything are, it's not like Tupac at all.
No.
Where and that Tupac album we listened to was considered one of the best that he's had lyrically. But even on Tupac's, like there's an anger and there's a like um I don't know, a grit behind some of the way he's saying things. And these are more low key, even the way that they're saying this, and they're saying very profound lyrics and, are saying very, attacking lyrics at times too.
Hmm.
But it comes from a place of, it doesn't feel angry. It feels confident.
Yeah. Yes.
It's confident, not cocky. And I think
Yeah.
like Tupac is a little bit cocky, but not
Hmm.
cocky, I would say, because he just talks about him dying the entire time on that album. But he just sounds, mad at the world. And these guys are like, nah, the world sucks, but I'm awesome. So,
Yeah. I think at some point there's a lyric that says like, that's not a threat, that's a promise.
mhm.
And I'm like, nothing is more embodied than this album of that statement. Like, again, I'm not threatening you. It's just a promise. Like, if you fuck with me, and just being super cool about it. Like, yeah, if you fuck with me, you're dead. Like, it's not going to be good for you.
And
And
the
feeling
thing
cool
is,
about it.
yeah, and the thing is too about this, whereas a lot of Tupac's album has more violence on it. It's
Hmm.
geared towards violence and guns and, shooting. And obviously there is that, a couple songs where they're like, "Hey, I don't want you to live this life either." This has a similar message to it, but the way that Wu-Tang attacks too is with their words and with their lyrics and
Hmm.
their skills. And they're just like, "Yeah, I'm better than you at this, and you're just going to die of embarrassment almost instead of
Yeah.
me gunning you down," even though they make references to those things
Hmm.
all the time. And like, the life that, is behind, hip hop and the way it is during this time. So, but a
Yeah.
lot of it is just, yeah, I'm a better rapper than you. And
Suck it.
yeah, suck it. I know it. Like, I'm
I
good.
know it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the like you said, I'm like to kill you with my words or to embarrass you. And there is violence, but it is done so in a way that is like poetic. Like and like the visuals are very like there's a lot of music videos that go along with this album. This was kind of the first time that GZA kind of got to dabble in being a director, a music video director specifically, and he was like pretty excited about that. He's like, "This is awesome," but he liked the visual piece of it. Again, he said, I have a quote from him specifically. He goes, "I'm on a different level, trying to be cinematic," and that so it's very intentional. But he's yeah, again, there's that confidence. I'm on a different level. I'm trying to be cinematic, and I'm like, yeah, you are. That's awesome. um, anyway, a couple more like little things again that he said, trying to make it visual. Liquid swords is a concept of being lyrically sharp, flowing like liquid metal, mercury, So that's what liquid swords means. So again, playing into that, I'm can die of embarrassment. I'll kill you with my words. That is what liquid swords means. That's what this album title is, and I can cut lyrically sharp, flowing like liquid metal. I think that's genius. Again, he is the genius. It makes sense, but it's awesome. It comes from the movie Legend of the Liquid Sword. Um, so it is derived from something else. But again, he's like where people get their head cut off, and it would still be on their shoulders. No one else would notice because the sword is so sharp. Wu-Tang is a sword style, and this here is the sharpest. I'd rather slip on the pavement than slip on my tongue. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I see in the chat, kind of like samurais. It's a more refined violence with confidence. Perfect analogy.
Hmm.
And that is, I mean, obviously the Shogun movie, like the Shogun Assassins, like that is the vibe. It is it's the like you said, the Japanese movies, the samurai of it all, like this, like the long sword, like even like kind of listening to these albums and a lot of them start off with intros of sound bites and clips pulled from the movie, like talking about honor or my father or this or that and the other. And it's like it is painting a picture for you that really feels like you're sitting in a movie like that.
Hmm.
It's very cool.
Yeah. I really enjoy all the inserts that they have, all those clips, because it kind one, I think they might. Have you ever watched a dub movie before?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, obviously it doesn't line up with the way their
Hmm.
mouth are, and it's often seen as a joke or anything. But when you hear the words just coming through and you're not actually seeing the scene, it's almost like better. Not
Yeah.
and I love those movies, all dubbed, subbed movies, whatever you prefer. But like sometimes the dub is worth it, and that's what these guys grew up watching, or these dubbed movies.
Hmm.
But like hearing some of those monologues are crazy. Like a couple of on the first one, like Liquid Swords and Duel of the Iron Mike, like those are some seriously well written and well translated, I suppose, but well written monologues that I was just like,
Yeah.
damn, this goes hard. Like when that kid's talking about his dad, the Shogun assassin guy, like, and just killing people, if they came for him, like they would die. Like that was intense, and I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in the car listening to most of this album. That was like the setting I had it in. And I was like, what is happening? Like, but I fully agree with you to remove the dub of it because yeah, it could be it's distracting when we're watching a movie and or anything, a video, and the words don't line like it's the native language that that person's speaking in, and the words don't line up with their mouth by like half a millisecond. That's infuriating.
Yeah.
But and it's distracting. So to have that for an entire movie, dubbed is the one where it's spoke like it's spoken over, but sub is where we get like the weird translation
Subtitles.
sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Sub, yeah, I hate sub. I
Really?
well, I
I agree with you. If subtitles are bad, if it's a bad translation, it can
it's a
really
bad yeah.
you can really screw up a movie. And we've watched a couple movies like that where I've been like, that can't be what they're saying. We need to find and see if we can find a better translation for this. So
Yeah, I think I've just seen some dubs that are better than subs.
yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
specifically one from a Netflix show that came out of Brazil. And some of the translations, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And then you switch to the other way, and you're like, okay, no, that's a way better translation to what's going on here.
I agree. It is one of those things. Sometimes a dubbed one is better. Some of
Mhm.
Jackie Chan movies are better
Mhm.
dubbed.
Yeah.
So
Do you want to
let's,
break down some of these songs?
yeah, let's do that. Let's not talk about movies.
Well, it's the 50 universe.
That's
But
right.
again, this is, and we'll talk about movies when we get to pairings because there's this again. This is a very cinematic album. Um, but I'm again, I said it earlier. In my honesty, there weren't. I have very little notes on the song breakdowns. Like while again, I was kind of like hypnotized by the album itself. I think it's fantastic to kind of put on and listen to straight through. But there was nothing. There was maybe like literally two songs in particular that like stuck out to me as like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But overall, I had a pretty like chill experience. Like I was like, I don't want to say like boring, but it was just it's been here. It was here for me. As
Mhm.
opposed to the Tupac album, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So what about you? What stuck out to you? Did stuff stick out to you, or did you have a similar experience to me?
Yeah, well, I do agree with you. Each song it flows really well into each other. They are very simple beats because the focus isn't on the beats and it isn't on that. It's on the lyrics.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's lots of similes and metaphors
Yeah.
being thrown out here. Sometimes it's a metaphor and that gets explained by a simile, and if you dove into each one of these lines of lyrics, which you could do, you're going to find some things that are going to pop out to you. But you're right. There is not anything necessarily that like comes out of the beginning and like grabs you unless it's one of those like those ones that start with the the scenes like and
Hmm.
that kind of sets you up for something. What is happening? What are we about to
Hmm.
get into? Could be 2 minutes before we even get to the song.
Yeah.
But I think like Liquid Swords, and I wrote down Liquid Swords. I do like Duel of the Iron Mike, but I didn't say that was like up there. Cold World I really liked because I feel like that's living in the world today and Cold World are both songs that have a message outside of like don't come for me, I'm coming for
Yeah.
you. Labels is an interesting song too.
Hmm.
Just talking about the record industry and listing out all the labels and in fun, unique ways and talking shit, and it's really good. But I
Hmm.
had Liquid Swords, Cold World, Fourth Chamber,
Okay.
Shadow Boxing, and
Okay.
I Got You Back.
Okay. I had liquid swords. I did take notes for living in the world today, gold and labels. But gotcha back, and then the last one, Bible. So the liquid swords, I got you back, and Bible are the ones that kind of stuck out to me the most.
Mm-hmm. And Liquid Sword, starting with that one, I think it's a great way to start the album. I
Mm-hmm.
love that insert. It's like a minute and a half long. That is
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's super sinister, and I love it. And it's like that kid narrating. But I really like this one has like the best beat, I think, like the most unique
Mm-hmm.
beat out of all of them. And it's good introduction, gives us a lot of GZA here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Great lyrics. I don't know. That's my thoughts on Liquid
Yeah.
Swords.
Oh no, it's great. And this was a single. This was the second single from the album. The first was I Got You Back. The intro is insane. It's so good. And again, sets us up for what to expect, which I love from a first song on an album. But I like that you brought up the beat. So GZA was interviewed about this song, about this album in particular. But I think RZA wrote this beat, and he's like, usually I take a beat, I go home, I like write to it for a couple days. But with this one in particular, RZA started to play the beat, and I just started spinning. And I'm like, that's how you know it's good, right? You're like, I don't even need to noodle on it. I just need to go. And that's how. And again, it's the opening song, the title track, um, the crazy intro. Like it for it to come together the way that it did is very cool.
And you see like interviews. There's a lot of like, interviews about this album, and obviously they've written books and things about this. GZA has 2 books out there, but saying like, I'm surprised how often I saw that, where they're like, yeah, Ghostface really killed that verse, and I just knew I had to come in and be even harder. So I just came up with it. Like, I was the last one and I hadn't thought of anything. And then I just like, to just be able to come off the dome with what they're saying is insane.
Hmm.
And I think I read on this song, GZA drops 11 similes and 13 metaphors and 2 verses on this track. And
That's bananas. The man's a poet, like
they're so
genuinely.
good. And that's what I'm saying. Like it is so different than what we just listened to with Tupac. And that's not to take away anything from Tupac. Like,
No, and Tupac is a poet, and we
yeah,
talked a lot about alliteration last week
yeah,
with If I Die Tonight, right? Just alliteration. Oh, but again, that's different. The similes and metaphors is different than an alliteration. It's a different style of poetry, but again, it's on another level. Um, that is, it's just good. It's
yeah.
just good.
I couldn't, and like as I'm going through the lyrics for all of these songs, it's like, man, what am I going to pull out of this? What are some things that really start? Like, oh my god, that's really good. That's really good. Like I think it was on. It's not even on this song. Look, it's not on Liquid Swords. I think it's on the next one that I pulled lyrics from, because I was like, oh, I don't love that song as much as Liquid Swords, but this one is so good. Like, yeah, I
Is
don't
that
know.
your favorite lyrics?
I I have like 5 different favorite
Hey,
lyrics.
no, hey, that's good. We'll take it because there's a lot of good lyrics on this album. Do you want to talk about which one do you want to talk about next?
Uh, I really liked Cold World was the one that I had next. Did you have any Cold World listed?
No, I have notes on my computer. I have notes in my phone. In my phone, I wrote Cold World and I put a check mark next to it, meaning I liked that one, and then I wrote
Mhm.
nothing down.
No,
Like again, this album to me was solely vibes. Like I didn't have anything to say. Maybe I'm speechless. I don't know if that's the case, but like I'm like, it's good. I don't have anything to add. I don't have anything to dissect. I mean, obviously the lyrics are insanely deep and clever and cool, but I'm just like, yeah, it's a fucking great song. I got to actually labels is like, which I think is like maybe 6 or 7 down in the album. And I just wrote, I don't think there's a bad song on this album. I don't, and when, spoiler alert, when we get to what was your least favorite, I don't have one. I don't have a least favorite.
I do, and I'll pick out your least favorite based on why
Okay.
based on this, and it'll be your
Okay.
least favorite too.
Fantastic. Sounds good.
Unless you can like tell me that I'm wrong about it, and then I would be more than happy to learn that.
Probably not.
No, the thing about Cold World is, like I said, feels like the first one on the out. It really does feel like the first one on the album where they're talking about like social problems and where they're living. And this one comes, it starts out, obviously it has an intro, like all the other ones. Also starts in with the chorus before it even gets to the verse, but it starts out with that like Night Before Christmas homage there. So the first like stanza is just a different version of Night Before Christmas, the Night Before Christmas poem. And that's one of my favorite lyrics on this. I'll go ahead and talk about it. It was the night before New Year's, and all through the fucking projects, not a handgun was silent, not even a tech. Outsiders were struck by enemies who put fear and blasted on the spot before the pigs were there.
I don't even think I registered that.
Yeah.
That did not even cross my mind. And it's so in doing research about GZA, like one of the things that comes up is that he studied Mother Goose and nursery rhymes. And I was like, who does that? But he's been studying this since he was a child. Like he's been interested in words and poetry and lyrics forever, since a child. So it kind of checks to, again, he studied Mother Goose, and I'm like, that's a weird way to phrase that, but to incorporate, a child's poem like The Night Before Christmas, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's fun, impressive. Like that line goes really, really hard, and it doesn't need to. I mean, I guess it does need to with it being the opening line. But yeah, it's good. And it veers off from that. It's just that first stanza that takes from that. And then GZA just kind of goes off with it. And then still manages to make his point shown about living in the projects, and still brings in all of the things that he loved. Like he still has his kung fu references in there, and he brings in all the different parts of the New York neighborhoods, and it's it's good.
I feel that there will never not be kung fu references.
Yes, there won't be.
There is always going to be some kind of a kung fu reference, and I'm not mad about it.
They each have their thing, If GZA and RZA are both talking about kung fu, and Wu-Tang's talking about kung fu all the time, Ghostface Killah talks about being Tony Stark and Iron Man all the time. Like,
yeah, that came up on one of these songs. Like it like made me pause for a moment, because I was like, obviously Tony Stark and Iron Man have been around for a minute, but was not popular until the movie came out. Right, the Robert Downey Jr. movie. And when did that come out? 2008?
7, 8, somewhere around there. Yeah.
So I'm like, man, he had to be front row the opening night when.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
He probably loves watching Endgame or all the movies, and but it's so interesting to hear someone rap about Tony Stark, right?
Yeah.
A Tony Stark on a 1995 album.
Yeah.
When more than 10 years later is when Marvel gets a hold of it.
Yeah, and and Tony Stark and Iron Man were not like super popular characters, but I mean, if you're a comic book nerd like these guys were, and all you're doing is growing up with, movies and comic books and all this stuff, like you're gonna fall in love with some of those characters that we know now is like a super popular character. But yeah, Iron Man was never like. Batman was always the better version of Iron Man. So
true. Yeah, always the more popular one. Had all the TV shows and the movies. But yeah, Iron Man. Yeah, it's like I was like, wait a second, what year is this? Like, it was kind of a fun little moment there. Do you want to talk about I Got You Back? Or do you have anything else to say?
Fourth Chamber. I just wanted to say, Fourth Chamber is basically not even a GZA song. It is a Wu-Tang song. Yeah. And it has pretty much all of them on it, including Killah Priest is on this song as well. And this is the song that Ghostface goes first on. And if I'm a guy, like if I'm listening to Wu-Tang, Ghostface is the one that I'm listening to on my own. That's my favorite, is Ghostface. And he starts everything off. It freaking rocks. And this is the song where he's like, yeah, Ghostface went hard. So I was like, and I didn't have anything. So I went last. And but this turns out this is like one of the songs that everybody wants to hear at a Wu-Tang concert. It's not even on a Wu-Tang album. So
interesting. I do like that. Yeah, because again, there's so much crisscross with it all. Like there's so much happening. Like they go do their solo projects, but they're never really solo. They're never really alone.
yeah, never.
Which is funny to me. They're like, it's a just like, I'm gonna go do my own thing. You want to come with me?
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah, we can talk about I Got You Back now.
Okay. The other thing was that music video wise, Shadowboxing and the Fourth Chamber were like together on the music. They like kind of combined them. That was again GZA being like, I get to be the director, and he was very excited.
That's cool.
But yeah, I Got You Back. Again, I always do this when we listen to a month of albums, that I compare the album to whatever we did the previous week. And this one was the one that felt most Tupac-ish in terms of the content, like betrayal and death, a lot of death. But this is the first single off the album. This is the one that was like the lead single, got some play. There's a line that I thought was cool, a lyric as kids are slinging in my lobby, little Steve and Bobby getting paid, but it's a life-threatening hobby. And again, it's just lyric perfection. Like he's very, very good. It's just like a little rhyme, but I was like, a life-threatening hobby. I thought that was interesting.
I also think that this is the true end of this album.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't even we're going to talk about the last song, but I think this is the last song on the technically GZA's album is this song.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good ending, especially like bookends of Liquid Swords and I Got You Back. I really think that's a good bookends for this album.
I agree.
As cinematic as it is and everything, like I feel like that's a good one.
I agree. And this one came with a music video as well. I have I guess maybe a not so fun fact about the music video. Maybe you saw it, but so they said, this is a short rhyme I wrote for one of my nephews. So that's where the song came from. When I said my lifestyle is so far from well, I could have wrote a book called Age 12 and Going Through Hell. It was for my nephew who was 12 at the time and whose father, my brother, had been locked up since '88. So he wasn't around for my nephew when times were tough. So I wanted to put up my nephew with this track. I had two nephews in the music video, both really young at the time. So the boys that are in the music video are his nephews. And in the video, they both had met up and shots rang from some shots get fired from some kids. And he goes, it's a shame because both those kids in the video, both nephews of mine, ended up getting in trouble for ringing out shots and are both doing time right now. It's kind of ironic. One of my nephews ended up getting 8 years for that shit. So the whole song is a sad irony to me now. And I'm like, damn, like it just gives so much more color and so much more depth. Again, like, it's like, I got your back, and because people are out here, they might get your front, right? So, watch your back, watch your front. I got your back. You pay attention to your front because shit's wild out here and you need to pay attention and, make sure you're okay because shit goes down. Yeah. And again, like the irony of it, writing it for his nephews end up, doing time in jail. At least when he wrote this, it is sad. It is a sad irony. But I agree, like when you say like the bookends, I think it is kind of cinematic in that way too.
Yeah. There's a part in that song that I really stuck out to me. What is the meaning of crime? Is it criminals robbing innocent motherfuckers every time? And the meaning of this is like that people don't care about, gang on gang violence. That's not a crime. That's a good thing, because it's getting rid of people. And so we're getting rid of crime. That's only, this part of it, the innocent people every time, instead of not even thinking about, the other types of real, like other crime that just nobody cares about and it's hurting and affecting the communities, everything. I thought that was kind of a unique way to talk about that and
Yeah.
bring attention to that. And I was like, oh damn, I never even thought about it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, what we white people like think crime is yeah, like, oh, somebody stole my purse, or
Hmm.
whatever. And it's like, and it just happens to you, right? And it's like, no, there's a lot of shit that happens, and that all of it needs to be addressed, because people are hurting, whether in quote unquote innocent or not. It is impacting the communities,
Yeah.
and
And
needs
it's
to.
vicious cycle, you know?
Yes. Hmm.
And there's no want to eliminate that cycle,
Yeah.
from cops, from government, from
Yeah.
community. Like it just keeps going because nobody
Yeah.
nobody takes initiative. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
nobody
That one was
cares.
kind of eye opening in this song, especially.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, very good. I don't have a ton to say about BIBLE, other
That's the
than
book for me.
I'd say, have you heard that phrase before? Basic instructions before leaving Earth.
There is I think it's a Carmen song, which Carmen is an old school, um,
Like pop singer Carmen?
yeah, Christian. No,
Oh no,
Christian.
okay.
I think it's a Carmen song, but it's kind of like this Latino mix thing. Basic instructions before leaving Earth, and it's got like bongos and all this other stuff. No, I that's what I've heard this from before. So,
Yeah, I've heard it from like Christian memes,
oh
and
yeah,
I was like, what? Like I was like, really? Okay. I was like, that I mean that Christian memes have been around, jokes have been around for a minute, but I was like, okay. But it is so strange to me that this entire song is a Killer Priest song. There is zero reason for it to be on this album.
and it doesn't fit.
No, because it's not a GZA song on a GZA album.
Yeah, it doesn't fit at all. Wow, never in all my church years have I heard this acronym. Yeah,
Well,
basic
welcome.
instructions to before leaving Earth.
Yeah.
Um,
I was kind of impressed by the amount of references that were made in this song. Jacob, Job, Abraham, like they just threw everybody at the wall to see what stuck. Um, but it was I again, it doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why it's on this album.
and it is impressive watching Killer or listening to Killer Priest, sing about a topic that is
That he's
very near
passionate
that
about.
he's passionate about and goes in deep about, doing his research and on the Bible and finding out things aren't always the way that they're true or perceived as true. Um,
Mhm.
I have problems with this song.
Oh, of course. Yes. There are problems with the song. I just thought it was such a left turn, and
Oh yeah,
I
very
wanted to
much.
talk about it because I was like, what happened?
Yeah, yeah.
So, anything else to add?
No, I don't have anything.
All right, well, what's your favorite song then?
My favorite song is Fourth Chamber. I know that seems
Okay.
like a bust on a GZA album to have this like very Wu-Tang song on here, but I think everybody's awesome in this song, and it
Fair.
has my boy in it, leading the charge, and I love that. This one and Liquid Swords might be my
Hmm.
my two favorites from this album. I
No,
really
that's
like
good.
Liquid Swords. So,
Yeah, no, it was again great way to kick off the album.
what about
I
you?
picked I Got You Back. I don't I that one was the one where I finally was like, again, next to last song on the album. That one was the one that like kind of flipped a switch, and I went, "Oh, this is a little bit different."
Yeah.
And or to me, sticks out to me. And I'm like, "Okay, okay. I see what we're doing here. Let's go."
That's the one that too also, and this isn't indicative of like the music that you like or anything, but it might be catchier because it has the repetition. It has the
Yeah. There's a
um
hook.
yes, there is a hook to it that is
And
very,
there's a couple songs that have
yeah.
a hook or a chorus.
But
Not all of them though.
this one's got the catchier one, and it's over and
Yeah.
over and over again. So,
Yes, and this is also the lead single on the album. I can pick them. I know
mhm.
which ones are going to go on the radio because they're the ones that I like. And
Yeah.
that's not me. That's not like a weird brag or anything like that. I just know I'm into pop music.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, this one's catchy. Duh. Of course, it's going to be the one that they put on the radio. So I can probably guess your least favorite, but you tell me.
It's Bible because
Hmm.
that's the book for me. Um, yeah, again, I was into this song too. I was like, okay, this is a left turn, and it's not a GZA song, and it doesn't really fit with what we just did in the first 12 songs, and I was in.
Yeah.
And then I listened to some of the lyrics, and I was out immediately.
The
'Cause I
abortion one.
like, yes, the abortion one really got me. I was just like, what the hell?
This song takes so many turns, and I was well, okay. So, like I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when I was like, oh, it's a commentary, like growing up in the church, like not really understanding, or like be kind of forced to being being forced to go. It kind of differs from the life that I'm living, like in terms of like I'm living in hell right now, like so why would I believe in a God?
Mhm.
And having these questions and like studying the Bible, reading until my eyes are swollen was like one of the lyrics. I was like, this is so interesting, like, questioning your faith, leaving your faith. And then he's like, now I teach my son my faith and also make him pray. And also people are trying to legalize abortion, and I don't like that. And that's against the Bible. And I went, wow.
Yeah, son, life is a pool of sin, corrupted with foolish men and women with wicked minds who build picket signs to legalize abortion, the evil eye extortion.
I was like, okay,
Yeah, didn't love that. But I was
it got
like, oh,
weird.
you're so close to all this other stuff. And I love that you've done this research, but you've only done this research to make yourself more like you're going to ruin it. You're going to ruin it. You're ruining it.
You ruined it. No, but it was a turn. It was such
Yeah.
a turn. I didn't hate it. I don't if we could kick a song off the album, it would be that one. But for my reasoning, it's because it's not a GZA song. It's a
Yeah.
Killer Priest song, and I understand that everybody is throughout the album, and there's a lot of collaboration here. But I was like, why is this here? Even like people who are massive fans of this album go, why is this here?
Yeah.
So I saw a whole Reddit thread on it, a massive Reddit thread on this song in particular, and why is it on this album? It was
Yeah, it's so
fascinating.
strange. Even GZA was like, he gave me this song to put on the album, and I really didn't know what to do with it. So I just made it a
Just stick
bonus
it on the
track.
end. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not on the pressed record, I believe. I
Right.
think it's this just something that we listen to on Spotify.
So
But
I don't know.
insane way to end a record. You said you had a lot of favorite lyrics. Do you?
Hmm.
Can I? I'll do mine first because I just don't have as many.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
um, actually, I think I only have one. Is I flow like the blood on a murder scene, and that's from Liquid Swords.
Nice.
But I was like, I liked that visual of I flow like the blood on a murder scene, talking about his like game, his spit game. And I'm like, ooh, I know exactly what that looks like. It's slow, it's kind of gory, it's um impactful, but it is slow and it leaves a mark. And I'm like, okay, I like this.
I was gonna separate a lot of this. That this is
Uh-huh.
on. I think this is on living in the world today. Um, but
Mhm.
I was like, oh, that's really good. Oh, that's really good. So I was just gonna say the whole thing. My preliminary attack keeps cemeteries packed of people who think it ain't like that. MCs are gunned down like being run down with mad trucks. That's a simile and then a metaphor telling them that is crazy. Um, it's yeah, geez. Then God struck. Religious people call it bad luck. Rap celeb, you got caught in the web. Now bees are stinging. That guys, I'm singing. I'm just swinging swords strictly based on keyboards. I like that line. I'm swinging swords. He's talking about here's lyrics based on the beats that they're putting out there that they're doing from
Mhm.
these keyboards, unbalanced like elephants and ants on seesaws. Uh, I was just like, they think a
Wild.
lot. He thinks a lot of himself, and he backs it up, and it's so awesome. From Shadowbox, I already did the night before New Year's line, but on
Mhm.
Shadowboxing, he says a rap insomniac, fiend to catch a guy snoozing, slip the cardiac, arrest me, exorcist hip hop possess me, crunch a person like a Nestle, you know my steez.
Crunch a person like a Nestle.
I love the slip the cardiac, arrest me, exorcist, hip hop, possess me, crunch a guy like a Nestle.
Incredible.
Love it.
That's from Shadowboxing.
That's from Shadowboxing.
I love that. That's awesome.
And then I Got You Back, I just had the chorus, the hook, I got you back, but you best watch your front because it's the guys who front that be pulling stunts. I love that.
The guys who front be pulling stunts.
That's right.
Good advice. Do you have any pairings? It could be music or otherwise.
I went with music. Ghostface is my favorite, so I would pair it with him. I feel like I looked up a bunch of lists about like lyrical rapping or East Coast rappers and like who's the best. And sometimes I would see GZA at the top of the list, and sometimes I'd see Ghostface at the top of the list. Sometimes I'd see trying to think who else. Inspector Deck at the top of the list. So Inspector Deck is another one that I'd list out there. Tribe Called Quest is early New York East Coast hip hop. Q-Tip is the main guy there, but all the guys from Tribe are great. The Roots is another example of like later 90s getting into the 2000s East Coast hip hop where they use all instruments and play like instruments, rap over those. Talib Kweli, Nas is the other one. We unfortunately missed out on Illmatic last year because it's a 94 album, but Nas definitely. So
nice. That's a good list. Very good. I had Wu-Tang. I was like, just listen to Wu-Tang Clan. I also had, in particular, 2 John Bellion songs. I know that I've kind of been shitting on him the last few weeks from his new album, but he does love Wu-Tang, is quite influenced by Wu-Tang. And there's 2 songs in particular that one's called Preoccupied and the other one's called Adult Swim. And both of those have features. Like he has his own kind of Wu-Tang group of people that he collaborates with. Like Black Keys is like almost always on his albums, like and vice versa. But it's just like multiple, like Preoccupied is just him and one other guy. But they specifically mention Wu-Tang in the song. And but Adult Swim has like 4 people on that song. And it just kind of reminded me of those. And then the Kill Bill movies.
Hell yeah.
So interestingly, another little fun fact. One, just listening to to Liquid Swords, I was like, this is giving the monologue of the one scary woman who gets her head scalped.
Lucy Liu's character, yeah.
Lucy Liu, yes, in Kill Bill. Is that in 1 or 2? In 1?
That's in 1, yeah. It's the end of 1.
Okay, so like again, we mentioned Tarantino a couple times, but this to me is a Kill Bill movie soundtrack, and it's fantastic. But in the second Kill Bill movie, when what is her name? Uma Thurman's character shows up, and her daughter, that she finds out has been alive the entire time. Spoilers. Her daughter is watching something on the TV, and it is Shogun Assassin. So yeah. I was like, oh, that's what a fun little like connection there. So I thought that was funny. And but again, I didn't know that until after, but like I had listened to the album and I go, this reminds me of watching Kill Bill. So, or just a Tarantino thing.
I love it.
So those are my pairings. Would you recommend this album to someone?
Yeah, I absolutely would recommend this album. I think it is a very chill album. It is something that you could put on in the background. Obviously, I don't think that's probably the intention of the album, but
right.
I also think that this is it allows you to do that. It's like reading a book almost. Like you can sit there and pay attention to the lyrics and maybe give more attention to those lyrics in passing because they are such like. I don't think the beats are easy to make by any means, but they are very simplistic beats and samples that they're playing. So it makes it easier for you to, listen to and focus on the lyrics of the song. So yes, 100%, very low not lo-fi, but it is that
Yeah.
it gives that energy.
Yes, I agree. I kind of said, I might like recommend somebody to, if they're like, I really want to get into hip hop, I'd probably start them at Wu-Tang. And then, because I kind of wish I had listened to some Wu-Tang prior to this album.
Hmm.
So for someone like me, I'd say go listen to Wu-Tang and then we can branch off into the solo albums. Like get a little bit of background first because I didn't know anybody featured on this album. I didn't know who was rapping when. I was like, who is this?
Hmm.
Until I looked it up. But I think I'd maybe say go listen to Wu-Tang first and then we can talk about Liquid Swords. But I do agree it has that the lo-fi vibe. And if someone's like, I just need some hip hop music to put in the background, I'm like, I have something for you. That's kind of how I saw it.
I like that.
What's your overall star rating?
I give it 4 stars. I really like
Yeah.
this one.
Okay.
And I think I liked it a little bit more than the
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
sorry. Yeah, she didn't know what to do with that. Yeah, I think I liked it just a little bit more than the Tupac album, which I gave I think a 3.75. So
Okay. That is fair. and please don't hate.
oh,
hate
you're
me for this.
fine.
No, I gave it a 3.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna revisit this album. It didn't I think unfortunately listening to Tupac kind of clouded me this week because I was like, I loved last week's album. I gave it 5 stars. So I'm like, so I had high I'm like, this guy's from Wu-Tang, clearly. Like I'm gonna love this. And I think maybe my expectations were a little too high.
Hmm.
But I thought about it and I was like, okay, I was like, who have I given a similar review to? Of like, this is great to put on in the background and really chill music. Natalie Merchant, which is not a
Nice.
great pairing. But I also gave Natalie Merchant's album a 3. So that's kind of what influenced it was like, this is something that is chill, something I can put on in the background, but not something that excites me, that makes me want to go back and specifically listen to it. So I put it in the middle. So not bad. I don't dislike it by
Oh
any
no,
means. It's just not as good as not didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed last week.
that's all right. You're not hurting my feelings.
I'm to Mr. Genius, to Mr. GZA, I am so sorry. If you're out there listening.
He's going to be super mad at you.
I know. I was like, for someone who is a very kind of threatening man in his lyrics, he can tear me down instantaneously. I am very soft. My feelings will be hurt immediately. Anything else? Anything else you need to add or want to say?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you again, Cody, for joining. Before we wrap up, as always, do you have any recent recommendations or what have you been listening to lately? Anything you want to share?
I feel like I have listened to things lately, but it's no, I don't. I would say listen to Supreme Clientele by Ghostface Killah. That's my favorite, one of my favorite albums from the Wu-Tang guys. And
Nice.
you can always listen to 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang. That's their best. Do that.
Okay, I say I do want to kind of go listen to some Wu-Tang now, just because I want to get the full scope of what it is that is out there to experience.
I'm for it.
Excellent. The only not really a recommendation, I've just been listening to some Hoodie Allen lately. Hoodie Allen did release a new song called Pretty Face. It samples the Jesse McCartney Beautiful Soul song, and it's actually pretty fun. If you are a Hoodie Allen fan. If you're not, then maybe it's not for you. It also was the 4th of July, and No Interruption is a 4th of July song for no reason other than I declare it. So Hoodie Allen's been on the brain lately. So thank you again. If you've got recommendations, I see in the chat, PD coming out with a new album soon. I don't think I've listened to PD. Have I?
I've played a couple. I think you've probably listened to a couple songs in passing of PD.
Okay.
But that's on my radar. I think it comes out the end of this week.
Nice.
New album. So
fantastic. New Music Friday on Spotify.
Yeah.
Well, be on the lookout. And again, thank you for putting recommendations in the chat. We love to see those. If you want more recommendations or you want to share your insights, if you agree with us, disagree with us, you are more than welcome to join our Discord server. We do have that available for the entire 52 universe, for music, for movies, for all things in between. And you're welcome to follow us on Instagram. That's where we post info about the pod, when we're streaming, what the next album is. And speaking of the next album, next week, we're still in Hip Hop Month. We are going to be covering E1999 Eternal by Bone Thugs and Harmony. I am quite excited about this one. Very excited. But E1999 Eternal, Bone Thugs and Harmony. It's going to be a fun time. So I hope we see you then. Tune in next week. Thank you for joining us this evening. And we'll see you next time on 52/1995 Music.